Ambassador, how would you describe the past 2 weeks? More than 6,000 participants, about 200 meetings among governments, stakeholders, and everyone that's been here.
Well, ECOSOC is the UN's window to the world because all of ECOSOC's meetings, the Commission on the Status of Women, the People of African Descent, Indigenous meetings, are really an opportunity for civil society to engage with us. We are the People's Council. We're the council that represents not only nation states, but also people. So HLPF, as we call it, High Level Political Forum, is in the first week is a chance for people to come from all over. For the second week, it's much more concentrated on ministers coming, but joined still by civil society. And it's a very lively time in the life of the UN because of the economic challenges we face, because of the financial problems the UN is facing, and all that's going on.
Well, tell us about the discussions. We've heard words like action, urgency, and five of the SDGs were focused on. Do you feel that there's been progress in those areas?
There's been some. I mean, I think we have to be realistic. I mean, 10 years ago, the Sustainable Development Goals were set. And for many people, they couldn't name them. They don't know which they are. But the fact is that the simplest way to think of them is what I would call the common sense of humanity. We don't want poverty. We want housing and health and education. We want opportunities for people. We want justice. We want gender equality. There's a range of things we go through that are there just as a foundation for social and economic development for the world. And we want it to be sustainable. We want it to be able to deal with this crisis of sustainability. How would I see it? We're doing in some areas, we're doing okay. In some areas, we're doing better than that. And in other areas, we're actually not making the progress we need to make. We can explain that through a variety of reasons. COVID, the conflicts which have slowed the world down very badly, particularly the conflict in Ukraine, which had a major impact on the global economy. But there's no time for excuses. We've still got 5 years to do even better. And then as we go forward, I think we're going to need to reset and reevaluate how everything is going and figure out how we can create more momentum for the kind of common movement upwards that I think everybody wants to see. We are making progress. The world is better off than it was 10, 12 years ago, but it's not as well off as it needs to be able to provide the kinds of advantages for girls and for everybody that we want to see in society doing better.
Couple numbers for you here. 35% of SDG targets are on track or making moderate progress. 18% are going backwards. And you said the SDGs are not optional ideals, but rather essential commitments. Explain that for us.
Well, it's not a cafeteria. I mean, it's not like, well, I'd like there to be gender equality, but I don't care about the environment. It's not like that. You need to understand these things all go together. The Sustainable Development Goals are based on the insight that we are one world, we're one humanity, we're one planet, and we need to be able to advance together. Obviously, nation states take ownership of things and nation states decide where their priorities will be, but uh, we have to reinforce the sense of solidarity that allows us to understand that if one country is doing better, we're all doing better. And that's the way the world works. And when we start putting up barriers or walls and we start falling behind, then we have a problem. And that's really, I think, why it's important to keep the SDGs firmly in mind as we think about what is the kind of global order we're trying to create.
36 member states gave reports about their progress in the SDGs. What were you hearing from them about the action they've been taking? Any commonalities among them?
I think the most successful examples are from countries that have embraced the SDGs explicitly in their own budgets, so that they have integrated the SDGs not as somebody else's idea, but this is our idea. So we're applying standards on housing and health and education, equality, justice systems, and so on. We're applying those tests to our budgets. And even further, what we call VLRs, where you have voluntary local reviews, you have cities coming forward and saying, we want to become part of the SDGs. It's been a slow movement, I have to confess. It's not moving as fast as I would like to see. But I think it's only works when countries embrace the goals and explicitly tie the goals deep into how they do business. And when that happens, you start to see real national ownership, and you start to see the active engagement of civil society. You start to see people's groups moving forward saying, how can we do better here and there? And I think that's really where we have the most successful examples of SDGs. But it was very moving to hear from different people being prepared to be open about where they've succeeded and where they've failed or haven't succeeded yet. And I think that's a very important part of the process.
Coming up,
Solidarity is not a frill, it's a necessity, because that's the way in which we demonstrate our common humanity and our commitment to each other as human beings.
The Sustainable Development Goals were created to help ensure no one is left behind as the world advances. Let's continue my conversation with Canadian Ambassador and ECOSOC President Bob Ray. I'd like to read back another quote of yours. You've also said we cannot build a better future without those who are shaping it, and we cannot claim to be inclusive if we are not listening to those who have been historically excluded. At this time, given where we are in the world, how important is it to get on the same page? The importance of multilateralism.
Well, I think it's more important than ever. I really believe this profoundly, and why I've been so honored to be president of ECOSOC is what I get to say from the platform, from the dais as president of ECOSOC is it's what I believe to be true. It's where I think we need to be as a world. I think we need to embrace multilateralism. I think that we need to reject extreme nationalism. We need to embrace the things we can do together. And we need to embrace the logic of multilateralism, which is the value of solidarity. I once heard, when I first came here, I heard the Secretary General say one time, when he was talking about COVID, he said, solidarity is necessity. And I heard that, and I said, I'm going to use that phrase, and I'm going to use it over and over again. I'll always give him credit for it, but I think it's an important phrase. Solidarity is not a frill, it's a necessity, because that's the way in which we demonstrate our common humanity and our commitment to each other as human beings. And it goes beyond cooperation between nation states. It goes into something much more profound, which is the recognition that we only have one planet, that we're here for a limited period of time as human beings, and that we do have much to gain from helping each other and from doing whatever we can to express our love and solidarity for each other by what we do. And that also implies action, taking the steps that actually make things happen. How do you achieve goals? You try to score goals. You take action. And I think that's a key point that we have to keep on making.
How much has financing and budgets been part of the discussion here at the UN? And we're talking about taking action, but we're also talking about budgets. We're talking about UN 80 reform. Will it be harder to reach those goals in 5 years, given budget shortfalls?
Yes, it will. I mean, there's no point in saying maybe. We don't know. It will be difficult because of the budget situation, and I think it's really critical. There's two budgets I worry about. Obviously, the budgets of nation states. How much are nation states willing to give to the United Nations, and and how quickly are they willing to pay their dues. Canada pays right up front. We're very proud of that. Other countries pay on a delayed basis, which is not good for the budget of the UN itself. But it's also important for the private sector, for the global marketplace, to align much more with the SDGs, and for all of us to be working in the same direction, rowing in the same direction with good steering behind us. And that concept of having finance that comes both from the private sector and from the public sector and creating the basis for great projects and for things to happen, I think has been a very important message for us. The closer relationship between the UN and the World Bank and the IMF and the IFIs and other development banks around the world, the closer relationships we can have, the better off we'll be. And then the more countries can raise themselves produces, I think, the successful formula for greater development.
What gives you optimism? That being said, and given everything that you've heard the last couple of weeks and what you've seen here.
Optimism is the only working principle. I mean, it's the only way you can survive in life is to not base hope on some vague kind of Pollyanna idea that everything is just automatically going to get better, but that unless we try, we won't make progress, and if we do try, we will make progress. If I may say so, I paid my first visit to China in 1986, and at that time, China was just beginning the process of opening up and industrialization. And on all my subsequent trips to China over many, many years since that time, I've seen incredible progress. Incredible, unimaginable back in '86 to say, "Oh, that's what we'll see. That's what we'll see today." How did that happen? People worked together, people made a decision, and people were optimistic and forward-leaning and hardworking. And those are the same qualities the whole world needs to have. We need to be looking forward to making progress in positive, constructive ways. And that's how things will get better. And we also have to do things and not just say things.
Ambassador Bob Ray, thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you very much.